Hey guys, my friend Andrew at the gym wanted to ask me some real estate questions. He's actually worried about the golden handcuffs, which is where his job keeps paying him more, and he keeps getting these huge options and stock options that vest if he stays just another couple years. So he's worried about not ever getting control because it's always so enticing to get those big chunks of cash and stocks. So we had a great conversation. He said he watched every video since 2021. He was asking me about how to get into real estate. So many of you are looking to do wholesaling, which is a great way if you don't have a lot of cash where you can build your real estate skills, make $35,000. I mean, 2 episodes ago, that's the reality of our guest. You know, the one before that made $40,000. So you can really make a lot of money finding rundown houses, getting it under contract, passing it to an investor. And you've got to learn some real estate skills to do that. But when you're ready for a rental property, you'll have all the skills to find those smoking deals that you can really make even more money from doing a flip or holding and renting after you fix it up. So we have a discussion about how to find those deals and avoid the golden handcuffs. This is the podcast for replacing your W-2 with real estate investing. Specifically, wholesaling is what we covered. My name is David Lecco. I created a process called DealMachine that's helped people close their first deal in all 10,000 states. Well, 10,000 deals in 50 states. Okay, so I don't use long-term leases because when I got my third rental property, I put her on a 3-year lease, and I gave her a little bit of a discount for that because I thought that was going to help me minimize vacancy.
Yes.
She rented it with her boyfriend. They broke up. Bless her heart, she got a second boyfriend within 2 months to help pay for the house, and that didn't work out either. So she contacted me that she couldn't pay for it at that point, and her car was broke down. And so I was in the situation where I could evict her, have it go through a nasty process, and this poor girl's been through so much. Or I just said, I'll let you out of your lease if you agree to get out within 3 days and go to a family's house that can help you get back on your feet. I'll keep your deposit, but I won't do the eviction process, won't have that on your record. And so that's why I don't do long-term leases anymore, is because it actually just, I had to renege on it. It didn't give me any advantage, but she got the discount the whole time. So I just do year-long leases at market price, and I hope that they do renew, and I earn that renewal by doing a really good job of helping them with maintenance requests really fast. So that works best for me, why I do the year-long lease.
I see. Do you I know that states are different with how they do eviction and all that stuff. In Maryland, that's where I'm from. It was my parents rented out the basement, and it was actually a really nasty process because these 2 people, they stopped paying, and we legally could not do anything about it.
Okay.
We were just they were just stuck there.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to get them out. I'm wondering, is that something you have to check when you choose a state or something to?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Indianapolis and a lot of Midwest states are very landlord friendly. So I would, if you're going to invest in rental properties, definitely consider that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. I'd save a big head.
Sorry about your parents' basement. What happened with the person who was found it?
So if I recall correctly, it was this young couple. They were pretty normal, pretty friendly and all that. I think they just started getting into drugs. I could see slow changes of how they would behave louder, and by the end of the lease, they looked horrible. They had tried meth or something. And so we wanted to kick them out, and we couldn't. I think this happened. One night I heard something downstairs, some kind of tumbling, and I look out the window, and my dad's wrestling with the guy, and the guy had pulled a knife on my dad.
What?
Yeah, I swear to God.
In his own house, yard, because they lived on top. Oh man, yeah, that's terrible.
That's bad. And the cops came, and we actually couldn't kick him out.
Yeah,
even after he had pulled a knife.
So I don't know about how they selected that person, but I'll say a few things to protect me from stuff like that. Is I'll have a minimum 600 credit score, no criminal history at all, and their income has to be 3 times rent.
Yeah,
and so that needs to be from a W-2 job, not somebody who owns their own bakery or something. I'm speaking from experience. That didn't work out during COVID so well. So that's what my requirements are, and I stick to them. Never ever
can't budge.
Flex on those.
Yeah.
With the one exception that I have is I'll let them pay 3 months cash up front, which means they have to pay 3 months plus a deposit. If they can do that, then I'll have an exception for maybe a 590 credit score or a self-employed person who just started their business. But other than that, no exceptions. And I've got it written down, so I do that legally, make that selection. So that prevents me and has prevented me from, I've never done any eviction, and I've also never had anybody pull a knife on me, thankfully, and there's been pretty good clientele. And so that's, just in general, random thing. So golden handcuffs, that's when you start earning a lot at your business, and it feels like you can't quit, especially when you've got more responsibilities like a wife, maybe kids, etc. So you saw that video and you were like, man, that resonates with me, right? You're 23, you're single, but you have a girlfriend and you can see things moving forward. So that's why you're kind of interested in real estate?
I'm interested in like having freedom, like having options.
So not real estate necessarily, but that's kind of why.
I think this would be a great avenue. I think it was like 90% of millionaires are made through real estate.
I'd heard that too, yeah. So what, do you feel like you have all the knowledge at this point?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, well, what's something that you have a question about? This would be an cost stab in like shelter.
Well, I'd have to walk through like how it goes, but I guess this, like, one is like, how do you generate the leads, right? Like, do you just stick to one thing? Like, if you're gonna do your thing where you have this machine, like DealMachine, right?
Yeah, it's a marketing tool for people that look for real estate deals, right, on the investment and house flipping side.
So, like, would you just stick to one thing where it's like you're just driving through neighborhoods and just doing that, or do you also like incorporate like I don't know? I guess using like is there some sort of website that you could use? I don't know.
So in DealMachine, you could pull tax delinquent properties and start cold calling them as well.
Okay.
So I would just pick one or the other. And right now, I think a great way to go is like pull tax delinquent properties, pull tired landlords, and then start cold calling them immediately, just asking if they want to sell their house.
Okay.
And so that's just as simple as that. I would say in 500 calls that I made so far this month, one of 500 was upset that I called them. And it really wasn't upset. His wife was laughing. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. He just had a bad day. So
also, like, what's going to happen? Like, they're going to yell at you over the phone. Like, nothing. It's
correct. Yeah. So I do recommend sticking to one thing because it can be very shiny object syndrome. And
so you said what?
You can get into shiny object syndrome.
How so?
Where you're like, oh, I want to try this strategy. Oh, no, now I'm going to try this strategy. Yeah. Now I'm going to try the other strategy. You never give any one of them like a big enough effort to really get results, because when you're cold calling, like you probably need to call on like 1,000 people before you actually get a lead, right? So if you stop at 500 and you go try something else, and then you go drive for dollars, you might need to find 500 rundown houses before you find one that wants to sell for a discount. Yeah. Well, let's say you stop at 200 and then you go to a third thing. It's like you're spinning your wheels because you're trying all these things, but you're never trying any one of them enough, right, to actually get a result. So that's what I mean by you want to avoid shiny objects syndrome and really just pick one that speaks to you, that seems like an idea that would work well for you.
Another question, do you think that, obviously city matters, right, where you choose or what town you choose. If somebody were to like have a job, like, let's say in Austin, Texas, it's an expensive place to live, right? Like this would be, it might be difficult to find houses maybe in this city as opposed to somewhere like the Midwest.
Correct, especially when you're talking about you want to fix it up and then rent it out and then have the rent pay for all the mortgage. Yeah, that would be difficult to do in Austin. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you know how I know? Because the place I live in, it costs $7,000 a month to rent, but the price is $1.5 million, and the mortgage on something that expensive would be $10,000 a month, right? Mm-hmm. So the guy who owns my unit is not cash flowing at all. Does that make sense? He's losing $3,000 a month.
How does he make it up?
Well, some people are so rich they don't need the cash flow. Yeah, right. And he thinks that it will appreciate more than what he's losing on the cash flow. Wow. But for me, I'm not rich. Well, I am now, but I wasn't when I started, right? So the whole point was like, I know I need to create the wealth by fixing it up, but I need these things to pay for themselves so that I can take any active income I have and put that towards getting another one. I don't want to be sucked dry from these investments. I need them to pay for themselves.
Yeah, makes sense.
So Midwest market, or if you were in Texas, I would go out to Kyle, right? Or which is kind of in between San Antonio and Austin, where the prices are lower and it does have a closer rent to mortgage price point. so that you could get it to cash flow.
Okay.
If you get a good deal there. Good. These are great questions.
I knew. They're real questions.
I know. That's why they're good.
Yeah. I'm thinking of other questions.
Sure. No problem. The long form video is great. Yeah, no, I'm gonna, good goal with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna publish it. Just start.
I'll try to make it more of a conversation then instead of like just like interviewing. But
Either one's fine.
yeah. So, you have a question?
Dude, no, I mean, you're very consistent with what I see at the gym, right? We see each other every day at the gym.
Yeah.
And nobody's telling you to do that, right?
Yeah.
So I think you've got a lot of self-motivation that would do well to be able to find one of these deals. And it all starts with the deal.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you to start looking for a deal because you'll always not know all the answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another way of saying that is people will have analysis paralysis where they're just not taking the next step because they're having questions about what happens on set 5, 6, or 7. So while it is good to know what's the actual end result, I think you'll actually learn a lot if you're like me by actually just starting to look for a deal.
It took you like a year and a half, right?
Yeah, well, like 7 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of 8, 9 years ago now, but I thought at least 7 months, right?
Yeah.
I know for a fact that the guy was receiving mail from me for 7 months.
Yes. And then,
So then, but I was probably looking for stuff for like a year and a half.
okay.
Yeah, and then I found this guy halfway in, and then he received like 7 postcards once a month before he called me back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely one of the things that you mentioned is like, and I think this is just like general sales, but you have to, one, like, yes, be persistent and constantly reaching out to a client, but also like you need to kind of like branch out, right? Like it can't just be focused on one guy.
Correct.
You said that people get kind of, they feel almost like, I was laughing when you said it's like, they kind of feel like entitled to a house. Like, this is my house.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, this is great. You know, paying for this shit.
Yeah, right outside where I live, there was a house with a bush taller than the house.
Yeah.
It was blocking the whole front door because it was like a person who wanted privacy and had lived there for 40 years, you know? And so it just looked so bad. They weren't doing any maintenance either. And I just looked at it every day. I was like, this is going to be my deal. It's going to be my deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's looked that way for like 10 plus years, right? So just because I see it doesn't mean that it's my deal.
Yeah.
It was wasted mental energy. I should have just looked for more deals. I think I looked recently and that house still hadn't sold. So it's like, good thing I didn't keep worrying about that house because
Totally.
I still haven't done my first deal yet. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like just continuing to kind of pump your numbers up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would be the best way to actually get a deal because it's a numbers game. You want to find somebody that does want to sell.
Yeah.
Not force them to sell or obsess about somebody that you think should sell.
Yeah. You think you were shyer before you started doing all these cold calls? Yeah.
Well, yes. I really didn't even start cold calling until like recently.
What did you do before?
Mail. I sent direct mail.
Just mail.
I let them call me because I definitely was more introverted back then. And so cold calling would kind of drain energy. And if they were calling me, at least they probably were interested. So that was like an easier call to have.
Hey guys, if you know you want to quit your job in the next 3 months, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast because we've got some incredible frameworks with step-by-step instruction that you're not going to want to miss. Also, leave us a rating and review to let us know your favorite parts and why you want to get financial freedom.
So I have a bit of experience with not cold calling, but like kind of putting myself through uncomfortable social stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're familiar with this, but like kind of like the pickup stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was
What do you mean by that?
pickup, like like you'd go approach women, right?
Okay.
And like try and get their number, or get a date or whatever.
But you have a girlfriend.
So before, of course.
Oh, okay.
So I was when I was like 18, 19. I was like, not really successful at all with girls. I mean, I'm in high school, right? But never had a girlfriend in high school, stuff like that. So super frustrated. I would just start going up with my friend, and we would go to malls, and we would just start like, it was like corny, right? But we'd go in there and try to get their number or whatever. And it's like, it really kind of builds this muscle where like you can just like go up and talk to people. And if you can talk to a girl who you find as attractive as a guy, it's like, that's a fucking terrifying thing to do.
Yeah.
Now, when you go talk to like some random like 50-year-old man or whatever. It's like house is gonna whatever. It's like that's cake, right? So I think like it's a little bit easy. Even like when I went up to you, right? Like it's a little uncomfortable because it's like I don't know you. Like I said hi a couple of times, but then I'm like
Stranger.
let's go grab coffee.
Right.
And it's like right there, it's kind of like you're putting yourself in that vulnerable position where you can just be like, no, like they're weird. Like who are you? Like don't talk to me. And so it's like you kind of just have to be able to, and you'd be surprised, right? Like most times, like the interactions, even with a call or whatever, they must be positive at least, or at least kind of like boring, right? Like not interested. That's it. Like the horror stories with like, I imagine the horror stories with like cold calling as just like the horror stories with like going up to girls. It's like they happen, but like so far few between.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
It is like exactly the same way. The more you do it, the more it feels more comfortable.
Yeah.
And like I was kind of avoiding cold calling for years because I knew it was going to drain my energy.
Yeah.
But, I've made like 500 calls so far this month. And like I said, the people who picked up, a lot of them just kind of became my friend. I mean, a lot of them was just neutral.
Yeah.
They weren't mad. But like way fewer people actually like were scary,
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure. Do you think it's more like let's say somebody just didn't have emotions, they could just do anything that like they said they were going to do. What would be the most efficient way to like actually get these deals? It would be through cold calling, right? It wouldn't be through mail, I would imagine.
Cold calling takes time, right? It took me 2 hours to do 160 calls, and you just got to keep pumping in that time, right?
Yeah.
So the fastest thing to do is to just pull a list of tax delinquent properties and tired landlords in your area, and then send direct mail to all of them 7 times each.
How do you find that?
That costs 59 cents a postcard, so it's going to be quite a bit more of an expense. You understand what I'm saying, right? Because the mail is more expensive.
Yeah,
than
right.
So, DealMachine has all that data that you could filter and just send mail to easily.
For tax delinquent records and stuff like that?
Yeah, a lot of counties have it too.
Okay.
It's not in a format that's easy to get, typically. My county, for example, they put it in a PDF where you can't select the text.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like this is very difficult. So that's why like it's in DealMachine. It's the same data, but it's in a more easier to use like format.
Yeah, I guess you could run like some like AI thing on it.
Well, you're a software developer. You might be able to find it easier to do that, and you definitely can.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you still need somebody to send the mail,
Sure.
so you could upload it to DealMachine, send it there.
Yeah.
As an option.
Right. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. What's going to be your first or your next move, you think?
That's a great question. So that post you had with like the golden handcuffs thing,
Yeah.
especially with software engineering, I don't know if they did it exactly for this, but it works nice, right? With like the RSUs, where it's like, oh man, I gotta stay one more year because then
Oh yeah.
I cash out, right?
No, I don't know what an RSU is, but it sounds like a stock option or a bonus structure.
Restricted stock unit.
Okay.
So you're just
exactly.
it's just for example with Oracle, like you sign a 4-year contract, so it's
Correct.
like I will give you X amount of money, which on paper it's quite substantial, right?
Yeah.
It looks like it's a lot of zeros. And then you divide it by 4, and then it's like you get that for this year, that for this year. And so what's nice about it too is like if your company's performing well, then like
You buy it at the low price, right?
yeah. So it's like your company's doing well. It's like shit, like this is more than what I signed up for. And then you just want to keep going. So what if it goes higher?
You have to use your own money to buy them
No.
at that price?
You have the option to.
Okay.
But with the RSU, it's like you are granted.
Got it. Cool.
At that. And like how to be specific, how it works is like you will be taxed on that money the moment that it invests. So like if it's $50,000, now that's added as regular income for that year. And you can choose to keep it in there, you can choose to not, but like so for me, my RSU for this first year will be dropping in like a month. So it's a substantial amount. With that money, I do want to just like first just get myself completely out of debt.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't have any college debt. And it's just paying off my car, which is like $6,000 left. But
Well, congrats to you, man.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, working on
Good
that.
life. You're in a good position.
I am, right. And so I guess I'm trying to like, I don't want to just say like forward money right now, but like I feel like I'm like 23 and like now I'll be like out of debt and like positive, I still need to like kind of build up a little bit to like be able to do something with it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. And it's tough because when you start a career and it's like lucrative from the beginning and like there are tons of like, it's not like this is a dead end job, right? Like software engineering, like you could see people at like Facebook, OpenAI, all this stuff. They could be making like 400, 500 plus.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so it's not like somebody put it nicely. Like I think with like the corporate rat race or whatever, like it feels like you're chasing a carrot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the carrot isn't high enough. With software engineering, the carrot is actually kind of like worth it almost. So it's like, man, if I really grind this year, it's not like, right, oh, I get a 5% raise. It's like, no, you can get like an extra like $100,000 in salary or something if you really bust your ass and find the right job.
Yeah.
Company.
Yeah.
So
what do you guys think Andrew should do? Put it in the comments. What's his next step?
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I was just like trying to figure that out because I'm like, I think, not to just make it all about me now, but I think I would excel in anything that I really focus on, just like anyone else, right?
Me too.
But like
actually, I don't think anyone can, but yeah, you've got the discipline to make that possible.
Fair. But I think, yeah, so like even with this job right now, like I think I'm quite excelling, and like I have the chance of getting promoted within this year would be first year. So it's like, shit, if I can do this, like what else can I do? And if that's the case, that I can do anything that I set my mind to, it's like, do I really want to choose this as my avenue, or do I want to choose something? I don't know. It's just like a lot of questions.
Here's what I've told others is that it doesn't sound like it's important enough for you to make the move. Maybe one day it will. And that's okay if it's not right now.
Mm-hmm. What makes you say that?
Well, that is not haven't done it. If it was important enough, you would do it.
Yeah. Fair.
That's how I know. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
But sometimes when people ask me, well, how do I get motivated to do this?
You just got to do it.
That's actually the truth.
Yeah. True. How did you know from the beginning when you graduated?
Yeah. So I made like $70,000 a year, worked on this software for fraternities and sororities on the side. And I sold that to a company that bought it for $10,000, like nothing, after I put 2 years of work in it. Then I took a pay cut, $50,000 a year to work for that guy. But I learned how to be an entrepreneur because he was growing a company around the software I built. And then 2 years into that, they felt really guilty of how much I was working and were about to give me a huge pay increase. And I just said, no, I'm quitting, and did not take the pay increase. And because I was like, I just know so deeply that like this is what I want.
Can you say that one more time? Because honestly, it's like missed. So in the beginning, you were working for a guy in college, or
so basically, I worked for a corporate job.
Okay.
And then I worked for an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I learned the most about entrepreneurship from working for that entrepreneur. It was worth taking the pay cut to go do that.
For sure.
And then around the time when he wanted to really increase my salary because I was working my ass off, I said no, because I knew I didn't have ownership in that. And I knew for me it was very important to have that freedom of kind of owning my future and not having the golden handcuffs. So I just said no, and I quit the job. Started doing the real estate invest.
So did you have, so when you said that you were doing this like software, do you have experience in like software engineering?
Yeah, I'm a computer engineer. Like that was my degree.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. How did you find the entrepreneur to work for?
Yeah, so in college, I was in charge of recruitment for my fraternity, and I read their books on how to recruit. They took the best practices from the Girl Scouts, the U.S. Army, all these great recruiting organizations, and helped fraternity men grow their organization like that, right? Which was kind of a breath of fresh air and actually made sense compared to what you would think a frat would do, is just give people beers, right?
Yeah.
And say, join our group. So that really resonated with me. I applied it in college, and then I noticed in my internship, like any type of recruiting, they have like a common tool. It's called like a CRM, right?
Yeah.
So basically it was like, this guy who wrote this book has good shit, but he needs to have like a CRM that people use to recruit people, to recruit other people. So I made it, and I went to a conference. I was like, hey, I made this based on your book. And then he was like, show me. And then he bought it, and then I worked for him to grow a business around that CRM that I made.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That was smart.
that's kind of how I went on that path. And I mean, I knew I wanted to start a business in the first place. So it also seemed to me like a good opportunity to like take something I know and bring it to him, provide value, and then figured the rest would work out from there.
With that, we'll train it.
Well, yeah, this was good. So appreciate the questions and happy to answer any future questions that you might have or anything like that.
Boomer. Thanks.
Yeah. I'll see you at the gym.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.